The movie begins with our protagonist, Armen, trying his best to record an event perfectly. Later, Armen presents his work to his boss, only to realize the recording mode isn't switched on. His boss gets furious and screams at him, telling him he doesn't want to hear anything from a man who doesn't know the difference between when a camera is switched on or off. Armen embarrassedly borrows money from his colleague before leaving work that evening. He goes to a bar, meets a young lady, and brings her home. Armen is shy towards ladies too, and contemplates getting the woman inside his house or finding another place for them to get intimate. He eventually decides to bring her in, and they kiss. She starts undressing for the night and asks to use his toothbrush, but he refuses and tells her it isn't hygienic for them to share a toothbrush. He innocently gives her a new toothbrush, but she refuses to take it and asks to leave. He sees her off the door since she refuses to stay. The following day, he calls his dad, telling him he wants to visit his sick grandma. Although his father doesn't want him to come, he insists on going. When he gets there, he goes to check up on his grandma before he returns to his room. He tries to send a message to his mother, but he changes his mind. Armen's social behavior can be attributed to his family background. His parents are separated and his father starts dating a younger woman, Lilo, and this doesn't seem like a good example for Armen. That night, he goes to sleep beside his grandma, as he appreciates his father for accepting to keep the woman there instead of taking her to the hospital. He stays there over the night, and the following day he watches sports with his father. Lilo enters and serves them some food. During the meal, Armen speaks to his father about his relationship with his mother, and his father insists that he just wants to be with someone who loves him, and claims he hasn't slept with Armen's mother in 5 years. Armen sarcastically asks if he's had intercourse with Lilo every day. He opts out of the issue, and his dad says he'll get it when he's a parent. Armen's not buying it. He decides to spend several days with his father. He eventually decides to visit his mother, although his father isn't comfortable with his decision. Reluctantly, Armen leaves because he claims he doesn't want to keep his mother waiting. He drives happily to his mother's house, expecting that his mother would be waiting for him, but sees his mother having fun with several women. Dejected, he drives away without notifying her. Upset, he tears on his trip, and he sees people having fun on a boat cruise. He decides to take a rest and eventually falls asleep. The following day, he wakes up and goes to a supermarket. He tries to call for the attendant but finds no one. He comes out and sees several empty cars around him, including some cars parked for fuel, but no one is in the cars. He enters his car and drives off, but sees the roads are empty. He sees bikes all over the road and comes down to check them. He starts wondering what could be wrong, while noticing the same cruise the night before with no one in there. It is at that point that reality sets on him. He figures that something is wrong. He tries to call his father to no avail, and he drives as fast as possible to his father's house. However, the house is locked from the inside. He knocks the door, repeatedly asking anyone to open it for him, but the house is empty. He eventually breaks the door and enters the house. However, he only finds the corpse of his grandma inside the house. He wonders what could be wrong and runs around the town for help, but no one answers. He checks their neighbor's house but only finds their blind dog. He returns home and realizes that there is no network coverage on his phone, and there's no water in the house. He gets frustrated until he hears a sound. Upon going there, he sees his neighbor's dog in front of his house injured. He assumes that someone could have harmed the dog and runs to his neighbor's house with a gun, but he finds no one there. He resigns to fate and goes to sleep. The following day, he showers with the remaining water. He proceeds to burn the remains of his grandma and drives away. He drives around the lonely city, and when he sees a very fashionable police car, he abandons his car and goes for that car. When he kicks it, he enjoys how comfortable it is because he couldn't enjoy such luxury when everyone was alive. He drives the car around until he gets to a tunnel. He sees a truck with cows in it, and he proceeds to release the cows. The scene changes to several years later. Armen now lives in a rural area, and the world is still empty. He has made a house for himself, and he rears animals. He lives alone and survives by hunting for food, farming, agricultural products, bathing his livestock, bathing in the pool of water, and enjoying life alone. One night he hears voices outside his house, and he goes to his farm to check. He sees that his goat is about to give birth, so he stays with the goat as he watches the birth process, after which he returns to sleep. The following day, he continues his daily activities. He also tries to create a new invention by generating electricity out of water, working continuously until fatigue kicks in. He returns home to rest, and while he warms his face, he hears his goat shouting and finds out that a jackal has taken the baby goat. He comes out to chase the jackal, but he can't reach the animal, so he gives up. Later that day, he rides his horse to survey his environment and looks for food. After his survey, he sees a truck around him and takes his horse to the front. Unfortunately, his horse gets uncontrollable and starts running fast. He eventually falls off the horse and hits his head against the rock and collapses. Later that night, a strange person sees him by the river, pointing flash at him and wraps him with foil to keep him warm. When Armen wakes up, he finds himself in another part of the forest with foils all over him. He wonders who could have rescued him, but can't pinpoint because no one is there with him. He returns home with these thoughts burdening him. That night, he sees a truck coming to his house and hears footsteps. He brings out a rod in self-defense and hides. A lady, Kiersey, approaches with a gun and commands him to drop his weapon. Armen obeys her order and eventually invites her in. When he wakes up the following day, he sees that Kiersey has gone to kill one of his chickens. He wakes up to a chicken stew in front of him, and he eats it. He's thrilled to finally savor such a delicious meal after days without one. Later, Kiersey sees that he has an injury on his leg. She immediately goes to her truck for a first aid box and helps him treat it. The following day, Kiersey comes to check on his wound, and they have a meal together. Armen asks her if she has met any other survivor in that world, but she tells him he is the only one. It has been so long since Armen sees a human, so he touches her hand, but she walks away. Armen continues his daily work until he gets tired and falls asleep. The following day, Kiersey gets bored and decides to look for Armen. Their relationship gets closer as they kiss and get intimate. They eventually have intercourse. After the act, they go to a nearby shop to get adult videos to get them more in the mood, since it has been a while since they have had such amazing moments. They return home, and for days they get to know each other and talk. She tells him she was strangled in Syria when she realizes she was left alone without water for 3 days. She wants to explore Berlin, but he says that it's dull and won't take her there. They have intercourse with protection because she doesn't want a child. Armen continues to work on his latest invention and successfully connects electricity to their new home. They live comfortably together and everything goes well with each other as a company. That day, they swim and have fun in the pool naked. They soon get into the mood and have intercourse without protection, with Armen promising to withdraw. Turns out that Armen was not keeping his promise, and Kiersey gets furious. He asks why she doesn't want a child. She replies they should not bring a child into that world. She walks away and drives out of the house. Armen remains alone but is shocked to see her driving back in the night. He goes to meet her in the truck and sees her dog too. Kiersey explains she was once in love with a man for 7 years and lived with him. She desired a child, but he wasn't on board with the idea. One day, the man's son walked into their home. She realized she didn't know him no matter how long they lived together, and decided to be a strong and independent woman. He consoles her and they drive to get groceries. Happy that she has returned, he stands in front of her truck and dances. She also dances with him. He drives them home the next day, but the tires deflate. Kiersey tells him to repair the tires because she is leaving. He assumes she is joking, but she insists she is serious, so he goes to fix the tires. While he works, she sees his cookbook and sees a picture of him and his grandma. Armen eventually returns and gives her the key to the truck, asking her not to drive fast. Before leaving, he asks what she would do if she were pregnant, but she doesn't reply. He sees her off and kisses her, but as she is about to leave, he drags her back and asks to follow her. He quickly goes back to release his livestock, but before he finishes that, he sees her driving off. As a result, Armen is again left alone as the movie ends. Subscribe to watch more videos like this, leave a like to help the channel out, also leave a comment if you'd like us to recap your favorite movie. Thanks for watching.